Old Starship signals something underground. Human mechanic discovers the impossible. The hum of the Aurora's edge filled the small salvage bay, a constant reminder that the ship was alive, at least as alive as it ever would be. He frowned at the data screen flickering before him. Old freighter, long abandoned, systems dead. Nothing here, the mission brief had said. A junk job, another paycheck, another tired planet. But the moment he saw the energy spikes, his instincts told him otherwise. There was something strange about the Vanguard, something alive. The Vanguard had been drifting for centuries, a ghost in orbit around the barren planet Icarus 9. Its hull was blackened, scarred with meteor impacts and space debris. Most people would see it and turn away, but Jax wasn't most people. He had spent his life fixing things others considered broken beyond repair, and the old freighter was definitely broken, or at least that's what the universe wanted everyone to believe. The comm crackled, and Captain Myra's voice came through, calm but sharp. "Ren, you copy?" "We're in orbit. Your team is ready." "Copy," Jax said, gripping the edge of the console. "I'm coming." He moved through the narrow corridors of the Aurora's edge, passing crates of spare parts and tools that smelled faintly of rust. His crew of 3 followed closely behind. Lyra, the pilot with her quick hands and sharper mind. Corin, the engineer, whose strength could bend even reinforced bulkheads. And Dex, the communication specialist, who spent more time staring at signals than at the real world. "Any idea what we're looking for?" Lyra asked, her voice carrying that easy skepticism that always reminded Jax of why he liked her. "Something that shouldn't be there," Jax said, his fingers brushing the portable scanner he always carried. "And it's giving off a signal." The landing was rough. Icarus 9 was a planet abandoned long ago, its surface jagged and uneven, scarred by centuries of storms and tectonic shifts. The Aurora's edge groaned as its thrusters fought against the thin atmosphere, finally settling into a shaky hover above the target zone. Jax strapped himself in and watched the Vanguard below. From orbit, it looked small, like a toy left to decay in the dirt. But he knew better. There was a heartbeat beneath that rusted hull, faint and steady, calling out in a rhythm he could almost feel. "Signal's getting stronger," Dex murmured, his fingers flying over the scanner. It's almost like it's alive." Jax grunted. "Alive or not, we're going down there. Get ready to move." They descended in the shuttle, the landing bay doors opening with a hiss as the ground approached. Dust and rock scattered, drifting in slow motion in the low gravity. The shuttle landed with a jolt, sending a shiver through the cabin. When the doors opened, the team stepped out. The world smelled of metal and dust. The sky was a dull gray, thick clouds swirling in strange patterns above. Jax's boots crunched against the surface as he moved toward the Vanguard. The freighter was larger up close than it had seemed from orbit. Its hull was a patchwork of repairs and corrosion, the marks of countless years in space. Panels hung loose, cables spilled like vines from the ship's body. It should have been dead. It should have been silent. But then the faint pulse hit him again, a signal almost musical in its tone. He knelt, tracing it with the scanner. It wasn't random interference. Someone or something had made this. "See that?" Jax called to Corin. "This isn't just junk, it's been modified, and recently." Corin frowned. "Recently? How can you tell?" "Energy signature," Jax said, brushing his hands over the console's interface. "Old ships have old energy patterns. This one's awake in ways it shouldn't be." Lyra stepped forward, her boots kicking up dust. "You're saying this freighter is alive?" Jax shook his head. "Not alive, but aware, and it's calling for us." The team moved closer. The entrance hatch was jammed, rusted solid. Jax crouched and examined it, his fingers working the mechanisms. He pulled out a small toolkit and went to work. Sparks flew, and a faint hum began to rise from the freighter as if it were breathing. "There," he muttered. "Try that." Corin stepped forward and pushed. The hatch shuddered and groaned, finally giving way with a heavy clang. Dust and stale air rushed out, filling the team's lungs. Jax waved them forward. Inside, the vanguard was a tomb. Shadows stretched across walls lined with old consoles and broken seats. Panels flickered, weakly alive, casting dim light across the scene. The smell of old metal and burned circuits was thick. Jax moved carefully, his hands brushing against controls. Most were dead. But then he found it, a panel unlike the others, small, humming with a strange blue light. He touched it and the screen sprang to life, writing in symbols that made no sense. "What language is that?" Dex whispered, eyes wide. "Not human," Jax said. "Not alien we know of either. It's new, or old before we ever knew how to name things." He tried a series of mechanical overrides, his fingers flying over controls. The panel responded almost playfully, adjusting itself to him. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the hull through his bones. "Jax," Lyra said, voice low. "Whatever this is, it's smart." "Smarter than us." He smiled, a tight, determined smile. "Then we'll just have to be smarter than it expects." The hum shifted into a rhythm, pulsing like a heartbeat. The freighter seemed to breathe, aware of their presence, curious. Jax's own heartbeat matched it, faster, alert, alive. He realized this freighter wasn't just a machine. It was a puzzle, a test. A faint vibration ran under his boots, like the ship was sending him a message he could feel but not yet understand. He traced wires, taps into panels, following instinct more than logic. Then, as his hand brushed a corner of the control console, a door within the ship slid open with a hiss, an internal hatch leading deeper underground. What is that?" Corin asked, stepping back. "Something waiting," Jax said, scanning the opening. "Something impossible." The hum pulsed again, stronger, insistent. The signal was coming from below. The freighter, abandoned for centuries, had buried secrets, secrets no one had touched until now. Jax glanced at his team. Their faces mirrored a mix of fear and excitement. This was the kind of thing they had trained for, the kind of discovery that made every risk worthwhile. "We go down," he said finally, "but stay sharp. Whatever's down there, it wants to be found." They equipped themselves with lights, scanners, and tools. The air was thick, almost electrically charged. Dust floated in slow eddies around them as they descended through the hatch. Below, the tunnels widened. Metal walls gave way to strange alloys, glowing faintly with lines of energy that pulsed like veins. Jax's eyes widened. These materials were older than any known civilization, older than the first starships. "This isn't just a freighter," he whispered. "This is a doorway. A doorway to something bigger, something we weren't supposed to find." The hum grew into a low, resonant tone, filling the cavern, vibrating through the very floor. Jax stopped, placing his hand on the wall. It pulsed under his touch, almost alive. The Vanguard's signal wasn't just a beacon, it was a guide, and they were following it. Somewhere deep underground in the heart of a planet abandoned for millennia, the impossible waited, and Jax Wren, human mechanic, was about to meet it. The walls seemed to whisper as they moved further in, a language of light and vibration. The freighter's secrets were alive, and they were ready to be revealed. Above ground, the wind howled across Icarus 9, but down here, in the shadows of metal older than memory, humanity's spark would soon be tested. The air grew cooler as Jax Wren led the team deeper into the underground tunnels. The glow from the Vanguard's panels lit their path, casting long shadows across walls that shimmered faintly, as if alive. Every pulse of light made Jax's heart beat faster. This wasn't just an abandoned freighter, it was something more, something that had been waiting for them for centuries. Lyra moved beside him, her eyes scanning every corner. "I don't like this," she said. "Feels wrong, like the ship is watching us." Jax grinned. "Exactly. If it was alive, we wouldn't feel anything, and we'd be bored." Corin followed, hefting a portable scanner. "Bored? I'm not bored, I'm nervous. That's a new feeling for you." Dex trailed behind, his hands on the scanner, eyes glued to the numbers and symbols that danced across the display. The energy, it's too organized to be random. Whoever or whatever built this knew what they were doing, and we're small, tiny, but it's letting us in. Jax ignored the nervous chatter, focusing on the pathway ahead. The tunnel widened into a massive chamber. Their lights reflected off walls of a strange metal, glowing with circuits that seemed to pulse like veins. The hum of the vanguard grew louder, resonating through the floor, vibrating their bones. "This is not supposed to exist," Jax murmured, reaching out to touch one of the glowing walls. The metal was warm under his hand and it vibrated softly. It wasn't machinery, it was alive. Or something very close to it. Suddenly, a section of the floor shifted. Panels slid aside, revealing a hidden staircase spiraling downwards. A soft, blue glow emanated from below. The team exchanged glances. "Looks like the ship wants us to go down," Jax said. "I say we follow." The descent was slow. Dust swirled around their boots and the hum grew louder with every step. The air smelled faintly of ozone and metal, but not unpleasantly. It had a promise, a pull that made Jax's skin tingle. At the bottom of the staircase, the chamber opened up again, this time much larger. And in the center, resting on a pedestal of glowing metal, was a console unlike any Jax had ever seen. Symbols ran across it in flowing patterns, bright and shifting. They didn't look like any language known to humans, yet when Jax placed his hand on the console, the symbols rearranged themselves. "It's responding," he whispered, "to me." Dex stepped closer, peering over his shoulder. "No way, how can it?" Jax ignored him. His mind raced. This was more than tech. It was intelligence, and it recognized him, recognized humans. Somehow, Corin frowned. "You think it's alive, like really alive?" Jax nodded slowly. "Yes, and I think it wants us to solve it, to prove we're capable." Lyra shivered. "Capable of what?" "Why would it care about us?" "Because we can improvise," Jax said, eyes scanning the room. "We can think in ways no machine could, that's why." He reached into his tool kit and pulled out a small interface device. Carefully, he connected it to the console. Sparks flew and the blue glow intensified, spreading across the room. The floor vibrated under their feet. A low hum became a tone, a rhythm, almost like music. Suddenly, the pedestal shifted. Panels opened, revealing compartments filled with small devices, glowing with the same strange light as the walls. Some looked like tools, others like weapons, and a few were clearly navigation devices. But none of them resembled anything humans had ever built. "This is incredible," Corin said, voice barely above a whisper. "It's a toolkit for something big." Jax picked up one of the devices. It fit perfectly in his hand, almost as if it had been made for him. The device pulsed when he touched it, responding to his heartbeat. Lyra frowned. "Are you sure we should be touching that?" Jax smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "If we don't, we'll never know, and that's the point. The impossible doesn't wait for permission." As he activated the device, the room shifted. Sections of the walls rotated, panels sliding aside to reveal tunnels they hadn't noticed before. The hum of the vanguard grew louder still, vibrating through their bones. The ship was alive, and it was showing them the way. "This is bigger than I thought," Dex said, voice tight. "This isn't just a freighter buried underground. It's a station, maybe a command center." "Maybe," Jax said, scanning the walls. "Or maybe it's a test. It's testing us, seeing if humans are ready." "What do you mean, ready?" Lyra asked, stepping closer. Jax didn't answer immediately. He traced the symbols on the wall with his fingers. They shifted again, forming patterns that almost made sense. "It wants someone to solve it," he said finally. "Someone who can think, adapt, improvise. That's us. That's humans." The team exchanged glances. For the first time, they weren't just explorers, they were participants. The Vanguard had chosen them. The next chamber was vast, larger than any hangar Jax had seen. The walls were lined with strange engines, cables, and glowing conduits that pulsed like veins. In the center lay a massive structure, a dormant ship engine, unlike anything humans had ever built. Its surface shimmered with the same strange metal, almost liquid in its reflection. Jax's eyes widened. That's the impossible, he whispered. Dex stepped forward. You mean this engine, that's bigger than anything we've ever seen, it's ancient, and it's here under a dead planet. Yes, Jax said, running his hand along the surface. And it's waiting for someone who can understand it, someone human. The hum of the Vanguard shifted again, louder now, more insistent. Lights ran across the walls, connecting the engine to the rest of the station. It was alive, aware of them, acknowledging them. Do you think it's dangerous? Lyra asked. Jax shook his head slowly. Dangerous? Maybe, but not in the way we think. It's testing us, pushing us to prove we're capable. That's what makes humans different. We adapt, we survive, we improvise. That's why it's calling us. Corin frowned. And what if we fail? Jax smiled faintly. Then we learn, but we won't fail. We never fail when we work together. The team moved closer to the engine, their lights casting long shadows across the chamber. The floor pulsed with energy beneath their boots. Every step they took seemed to echo through the station. Then suddenly, a panel opened near the engine, revealing a console covered in symbols that shifted faster than they could follow. Jack stepped forward, heart pounding. This is it, he whispered. This is where the ship speaks, where it decides if we're worthy. He connected his device to the console and the symbols rearranged themselves. They formed a pattern, a puzzle. Not words, not commands, just shapes, rhythms, and sequences. Jack studied it, instinct and experience guiding his hands. He adjusted circuits, recalibrated energy flows, and tapped panels in ways no human or machine had ever imagined. The engine pulsed in response, vibrating with energy that made the hair on his arms stand up. Dex watched, awestruck. I don't understand it. How are you doing that? Jax shrugged. I don't know, I just feel it. The ship is alive and it's talking to me. Maybe it's talking to us. As the last sequence aligned, the engine pulsed brightly, sending a shockwave of energy through the chamber. The walls glowed, the hum intensified, and the floor vibrated. The Vanguard had acknowledged them. Jack stepped back, breathing hard. We did it, he whispered. We solved part of it. The team looked around, their faces a mix of fear, wonder, and awe. The Vanguard wasn't just a freighter buried underground, it was a key, a guide, and the impossible had begun to reveal itself. Then, a low rumble shook the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The energy pulse from the engine grew stronger, spreading through the tunnels. Lyra grabbed Jax's arm. What is happening? Jax's eyes shone with determination. It's waking up, and it wants us to see more, to go deeper. To prove ourselves further. The impossible is waiting for us, and we're the ones it chose. The walls pulsed, glowing lines stretching into the darkness. A pathway opened, leading deeper into the underground station. The team hesitated only for a moment before moving forward. Somewhere in the shadows, the Vanguard hummed, alive and patient. It had waited centuries for someone who could understand, and humans had arrived. The hum of the Vanguard's engine echoed through the underground chamber like a heartbeat. Jax Wren stood before the massive alien structure, his fingers tracing its glowing surface. He had felt alive before, but now it was different. Every pulse, every vibration made him feel connected, not just to the machine, but to something bigger than himself. This thing, Corin said, his voice low, almost reverent. It's more than a ship, it's a planet's worth of power in one engine. Jax nodded. Yes, and it's testing us. Lyra frowned, crossing her arms. Testing us how? It's a machine. Machines don't test humans. Jax shook his head. Not a machine, not like we know. Look at it. It adapts, responds, reacts. It's intelligent, and it wants to see if we're capable. Dex tilted his head, staring at the pulsing symbols on the floor. Capable of what exactly? Jax smiled faintly. Of understanding it, of surviving it, of using it to do something impossible. The first challenge came fast. As they examined the engine, the glowing walls shifted. Sections of the chamber slid aside, revealing massive constructs, machines built from the same strange metal as the engine. They weren't just tools, they were guardians. Their shapes were angular and sharp, with limbs that could slice through steel. Their eyes glowed red, scanning the team. Jax," Lyra whispered. "They're moving." Jax didn't answer. He stepped forward, scanning the constructs. They weren't attacking yet, they were testing, analyzing. And he realized something vital. These machines weren't designed to kill indiscriminately. They were puzzles themselves, challenges to see if humans could outthink them. "Follow me," he said. "We'll need to be clever, fast, and creative." The first construct lunged. Its metal limbs swiped the floor, sending sparks flying. Corin ducked, barely avoiding a deadly strike. The team scattered, each dodging with precision. But then Jax noticed the pattern. The construct's movements were predictable, rhythmic. The engine pulsed in response to the Guardian, almost guiding him. "It's teaching us," Jax muttered. "We have to think like it, move with it, anticipate it." Using pieces of broken panels and a few small devices from the pedestal, Jax rigged a makeshift barrier. He tapped into the patterns on the floor, mimicking the pulses the engine sent. The construct paused, analyzing, then adjusted its strike. Each pulse of energy, each movement became a conversation. Dex gasped. "You're communicating with it." "Not with words," Jax said, eyes focused. "With instinct, intuition, improvisation." They moved together, humans and constructs locked in a strange, dangerous dance. Every step required thinking ahead, improvising tools, and reacting faster than instinct alone could manage. After several tense minutes, the constructs stepped back, folding into their stations along the walls. Jax exhaled, his hands trembling slightly. "We passed the first test." The engine pulsed brighter, almost as if it were approving. The walls shifted again, opening a narrow corridor leading deeper into the underground. "Deeper?" Lyra asked, tension in her voice. "We've barely scratched the surface." "Exactly," Jax said. "We're supposed to go deeper. The engine is alive, and it's giving us more. If we succeed, we get closer to the impossible." The corridor led to another chamber. This one was circular, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. Energy conduits ran like veins across the walls, feeding into a central platform. And on that platform sat a holographic projection, a star map. But it wasn't a map of any galaxy humans knew. The stars shifted, pulsing in strange rhythms, and lines of light connected points in patterns that made no sense, until Jax stepped closer. He placed a hand on the projection. The lines rearranged themselves. Symbols lit up along pathways, showing routes and connections. The engine's power wasn't just for propulsion. It was a Starship engine of unimaginable scale, capable of altering planets, traveling impossible distances, even rewriting energy flows across systems. "This is bigger than anything we've ever imagined," Dex whispered, voice trembling. "We could colonize worlds, move stars, we could change everything." "Yes," Jax said, "but first we need to prove we can handle it. The engine isn't just power, it's a test, a challenge. And it only responds to humans who can think creatively, improvise, and survive against impossible odds." They were not alone. As they studied the map, the walls began to hum louder and shadows shifted. Dozens of constructs emerged, each one larger and faster than before. Jax realized with a start, these weren't just tests, they were a final challenge designed to push them to the edge of human capability. "Stay sharp," he ordered. "We use what we know, what we have in our heads." The constructs attacked with precision. Metal limbs slammed into the floor, sparks flew, energy pulses shot across the room. Jax ducked, grabbed a piece of scrap metal, and rigged a device to emit a pulse of energy. It interfered with the construct's sensors, slowing its movements. Corin joined him, using cables from the walls to create temporary traps. while Lyra guided the team through the safest paths. Dex interfaced with the holographic star map, sending pulses of energy that disrupted the construct's patterns. Every move required teamwork, improvisation, and creativity. No algorithm, no machine could replicate human adaptability. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. Jax's hands were cut and bleeding, his suit scorched in places. Sweat ran down his face. But slowly, methodically, the team overcame the constructs, not by brute force but by using their minds, their ingenuity, and their humanity. Finally, the last construct paused, its red eyes dimming. The engine pulsed, brighter and steadier than before. The room fell silent. Jax collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. "We did it," he said, voice hoarse. "We passed the test." The holographic star map shifted. Paths lit up, showing routes to unknown systems, planets waiting to be explored, energies waiting to be harnessed. The Vanguard's engine wasn't just a machine, it was a key, and they had earned the first turn of it. Lyra stepped forward, awe in her eyes. We actually did it. We solved it." Jax shook his head slowly. "No, Lyra, we didn't just solve it, we proved something. That humans can handle the impossible. That our spark, the one that lets us think, adapt, survive, matters in ways no other species can understand." Corin grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. "So, we're officially better than any AI or alien tech out there." Jax chuckled despite his exhaustion. "Not better, different, unique. And that's what the Vanguard wants us to realize. It's not about strength or speed or raw power. It's about creativity, courage, and ingenuity. That's what makes us human." Dex nodded slowly. "And the engine, it's recognizing that, us, humanity." Jax placed a hand on the glowing console. The hum vibrated through him. "Yes, and I think it wants to see what we do next, how far we'll go, what we can create. The impossible isn't finished yet. It's only beginning." The walls pulsed again, opening another path deeper, darker, leading to the very heart of the underground station. Jax glanced at his team. Their faces were tense, nervous, but determined. "We go further," he said firmly. "The engine isn't done with us, and neither are we. Whatever's waiting, we're ready. Humans don't give up. Humans adapt. Humans survive, and we'll show it." The team stepped forward together, their lights cutting through the shadows. The Vanguard hummed, alive, aware, guiding them further into the impossible. Somewhere deep underground, an ancient engine, older than any human civilization, waited. And for the first time in centuries, it had recognized something it had never seen before, the spark of humanity. And it was hungry to see what that spark could do. The air in the chamber was electric. Every pulse from the Vanguard's engine vibrated through the floor, up through their boots, and into Jax Wren's chest. The team had come further than any human had before, through tunnels that no one had mapped, through challenges no one had survived or even understood. Now the heart of the underground station awaited them. Jax stepped forward, eyes fixed on the massive engine. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, glowing with energy that seemed alive. The hum was deafening, but it carried more than sound. It carried purpose, expectation, and an almost tangible intelligence. "This is it," he whispered. "The heart of the Vanguard." Lyra stepped beside him, her eyes wide. "Are you sure we can control it? I mean, this is bigger than anything humanity has ever seen." Jax nodded slowly. "We don't control it, we work with it. That's the difference." Corin ran his hands along a glowing conduit. "Feels like it's alive, watching us." "It is alive," Jax said firmly. "And it's been waiting for humans like us. Humans who can think, adapt, and survive. That's why it responded to us. That's why it let us come this far." Dex, still staring at the holographic star map projected above the engine, whispered, "It's showing everything. Systems we didn't even know existed. Planets, colonies, energy flows. The possibilities." Jax placed his hand on the console. The glow pulsed, brighter now, as if acknowledging his presence. "Yes, the possibilities are endless, but we have to be careful. This isn't just a tool, it's everything. One wrong move and we could destroy the planet or worse, lose the chance forever. Lyra stepped closer. Then what do we do? How do we use it? Jax looked at the engine, feeling its energy hum in rhythm with his heartbeat. We listen. We respond. We do what humans do best: think, adapt, improvise. The first step was activating the core. Jax inserted a device into the console, linking the engine to their control panel. Sparks of energy ran along conduits like lightning, and the hum became a deep, resonant tone that shook the chamber. The floor vibrated beneath their feet and glowing symbols raced across the walls, forming patterns that almost seemed alive. "Something's happening," Dex said, his voice tight. "It's reacting to us, but it's huge. We have to be ready for anything." The engine pulsed again, stronger. The air shimmered with heat and light. Jax realized that it wasn't just power, it was sentience. The engine wasn't just a machine, it was aware. It knew they were there. It was evaluating them, testing whether humans could be trusted with the impossible. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Panels fell from the walls, sparks flew, and the hum escalated into a roar. From the shadows, massive constructs emerged, more advanced and faster than anything they had faced before. These weren't attacks, they were tests, a final challenge. "Everyone focus," Jax shouted. "We use what we learned. Stay sharp." The constructs moved with lethal precision. Jax grabbed a glowing conduit, using it to redirect energy pulses at one of the machines, causing it to hesitate. Corin pulled panels from the walls to create temporary barricades, while Lyra guided them through openings the constructs hadn't anticipated. Dex interfaced with the holographic map again, sending signals into the engine to create interference patterns. The constructs paused, their sensors confused by the unexpected energy flows. Jax realized the truth: brute force would not win this. Only ingenuity, teamwork, and human adaptability could overcome the test. Minutes felt like hours. Sweat ran down their faces. Cuts from sparks and scrapes stung, but they pressed on. Jax improvised, combining pieces of technology from the room to create makeshift tools and diversions. Each move worked, teaching them the rhythms of the constructs, reading their logic, exploiting their patterns. Finally, the last construct paused, shutting down as the engine pulsed a calming resonance. The hum softened, almost like a sigh of approval. The chamber fell silent except for the vibration of the engine. Jax fell to his knees, exhausted, breathing hard. "We did it," he said hoarsely. "We proved it. We're worthy." The holographic star map shifted again, opening new pathways, revealing star systems, energy flows, and planets ready for colonization. Jax looked at his team. Their faces were lit with awe, exhaustion, and the thrill of discovery. "We actually did it," Lyra whispered. "We solved it. We're part of this thing." "Yes," Jax said, voice calm but intense. "And it chose us because humans think differently. We adapt, improvise, survive. We don't just follow rules, we create solutions. That's why it responded to us. That's why it's giving us the chance to use it." Dex shook his head in disbelief. "I can't even comprehend what this means. We could change everything for humanity." Jax smiled, though he was still weary. "Yes, but first, we need to activate it fully. To do that, we have to link our minds with the engine, understand its energy flows, and guide it carefully. One wrong step and this planet, maybe even the system, could be destroyed." The team worked together, following Jax's lead. Using tools from the pedestal, they created a synchronized interface between themselves and the engine. The symbols pulsed in time with their heartbeats, energy flowing along conduits like rivers of light. Jax felt the engine's consciousness brush against his thoughts, probing, testing, communicating. It asked questions, not in words but in energy patterns. Jax responded instinctively, improvising solutions in real time, combining logic, creativity, and intuition. The engine shifted, reacting to his thoughts, then to Lyra's, Corin's, and Dex's. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time seemed to bend as they worked, lost in the flow of energy, understanding, and communication. Then the engine pulsed brighter than ever before. Light stretched from the floor to the ceiling, energy flowing into conduits that connected to the planet itself. Jack stepped back, awe in his eyes. It's alive in a way we didn't expect, and it's trusting us. Lyra's voice trembled with excitement. We're doing it. We're actually controlling it together. Yes, Jack said, we are, and that's what humans do. We take what seems impossible and make it real. The engine's power surged, lifting panels, spinning conduits, flowing through the station and into the planet above. Jax realized the full potential. The engine could terraform planets, power colonies, even move massive energy systems across the galaxy. The possibilities were limitless, but it required care, understanding, and human judgment. Suddenly, the engine pulsed in warning. Energy readings spiked. The planet trembled, Jax's heart raced. One misstep could trigger catastrophic collapse. Focus, he shouted. We have to guide it carefully. Stay calm. Every member of the team moved in perfect synchronization. Their instincts, training, and creativity blending with the engine's intelligence. Jax guided energy flows, Lyra adjusted the conduits, Corin managed the stabilization systems, and Dex synchronized signals through the holographic interface. Slowly, steadily, the energy harmonized. The hum became a steady resonance, the planet's tremors ceased, and the chamber glowed with a steady, controlled light. They had done it. Jax stepped back, breathing hard. We controlled the impossible. The engine pulsed one last time, and then the chamber fell silent. The hum became a gentle vibration, almost like a heartbeat. It had acknowledged them, accepted them, and given humanity its first real foothold in the galaxy. Lyra smiled, tears in her eyes. We did it. We're part of something bigger. Yes, Jax said softly. And this is just the beginning. Humans have the spark, creativity, courage, ingenuity. And now the universe knows it too. The team stood together, looking at the glowing engine, knowing their lives and humanity would never be the same. The Vanguard's long-hidden power had been awakened, not by brute force, not by technology alone, but by human skill, intuition, and courage. Above ground, the barren planet seemed to breathe again, energy flowing into its crust, lighting its surface, hinting at life yet to come. And in orbit, the stars waited, calling humanity to new worlds. Jax Wren smiled faintly, placing his hand on the console. The impossible is real, he said, and it belongs to us. The Vanguard's hum continued, steady and alive, as if whispering across the void. Humans, you are ready. And with that, humanity had taken its first step into a new era, an era where courage, ingenuity, and heart could awaken the impossible in the universe itself.